68. Called him Yadav, the man who's doing the bowling, and took Stokes. Took 6 for 25. In reply, India have lost the wicket of Dhawan, but they look really comfortable. 88 for 1 in the 13th over. And it was a great day for Irish cycling at the Tour de France as Dan Martin won stage 6 in Brittany. The Birmingham-born Irishman broke away on the last climb of that 112-mile stage. He held off the field, including race leader Greg Van Avermaet and Team Sky's Geraint Thomas. He's up to 2nd place overall. It's Martin's first stage win in 5 years. We'll have much more for you in Sports Day at 6:30. Now to Christian Fraser at Blenheim Palace.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, in fact, I've just been watching the traffic here on the A44 while we've been on air in the last half an hour, and the tailbacks have been extending as the controls go into place around Blenheim Palace. The buses, in fact, are dropping off the protesters. There's one just here coming behind us, and the numbers of protesters outside the gates starting to grow as we await for Donald Trump. He'll be here around 7:30 this evening. And I've just been looking down the list of the business people who are going to be attending this dinner. There's 2 very prominent names, perhaps our best known businessmen who are not on the list. One of them is Sir Richard Branson, who wrote a book called Finding My Virginity, in which he said this president has a vindictive streak. The other one is Lord Alan Sugar, entrepreneur, a star, of course, of a programme we know well, The Apprentice. And of course, Donald Trump was on the US version of The Apprentice. And you are, I'm told that you're on a yacht somewhere, Lord Sugar, is that right?
That's right, yes, I am, in Croatia, yeah. So, yeah.
Right. Now, when you took over The Apprentice, Donald Trump said you weren't rich enough to be on it, and you had quite a row with him.
Yeah, I mean, most people would understand that Donald does, sometimes say some stupid things, and is obviously known for talking a lot of rubbish sometimes. So obviously that I don't know what criteria there was supposed to be rich enough to be on The Apprentice, but there you go. That was his opinion. The Sunday Times has got a different opinion of how rich I am, anyway.
Yes, didn't you once challenge him to write a £100 million cheque, and you said he wouldn't be able to cash his?
Well, I did say something like that at one stage. I mean, there's still talk of, how much money people say they've got. I mean, I gauge out by the fact of whether you could write a cheque out for £100 million and whether it would get cash. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that is stupid. If you had £100 million laying around, you certainly wouldn't have it in cash. You should have invested it in the business. But anyway, there you go. I mean, President Trump, it surprised me that he became the president, like surprised a lot of people, I guess. And I suppose one has to respect the fact that he is the president now, and he's allegedly getting on with things. And what I can hear from some American people, they're very happy with what he's doing as far as Americans are concerned. And of course, he's made a few kind of enemies with Europe at the moment, talking about tariffs and China and tariffs in order to protect his own home industry, which is all good fighting talk. And I was just wondering whether the president has an understanding of the European Union is a much larger consumer base than America. And I think he must be thinking in old-fashioned terms that the Union is just England or France or something like that. He doesn't understand that the combined European Union is a much bigger industrial target market, and if they reciprocate with some of his punitive measures on tariffs, it could hurt the American economy also.
But you wouldn't let personality and sentiment get in the way of business, would you? You'd be in favour of him coming to the UK and being shown a good time here at Blenheim this evening?
I think that you have to respect the fact that he is the President of the United States. It's none of our business, really. The American public voted him in. And one thing we have to do is show respect. And, if our Prime Minister went to America, they'll show her respect. He's here. We've got to show him respect. What more can we say? I mean, he might not agree with some of the things that he says, but he is the President of the United States.
Lord Sugar, it's good of you to interrupt your holiday for us. Good to hear your thoughts this evening. Lord Alan Sugar there on a yacht off the coast of Croatia. Well, let's cross over to Regent's Park. Anita is outside the US Ambassador's residence for us. Anita.
Thanks, Christian. Yes, from where the President will be heading in your direction a little later this evening. He's currently at the US Ambassador's official residence, Winfield House in Regent's Park, which is behind that security cordon that you can see over my shoulder there. Well, joining me to discuss this visit and everything about it and what President Trump has been doing at NATO and what he's going to be doing when he talks to President Putin is Professor Indrajit Parmar, Professor of International Politics at the City University of London. First of all, on what President Trump said at NATO, you would argue that there's a disconnect between his words and what he's actually signed up to.
Absolutely, and I think he's playing to a domestic audience which wants to sort of America first and America to withdraw from the world system. But what he actually signed up to was a massive expansion of NATO power, including this 30x4 program, which means more warplanes, more warships, more soldiers to deploy within 30 days on the Russian border, for example.
So he creates narratives that can be,
Absolutely.
opposed to one another, but he's talking about both things at the same time.
Yes.
Then on the subject of the EU, you think he feels more ambivalent about the bloc?
Yes, I would say he sees a benefit transactionally with negotiating with a bloc which is divided. So that's why he supports a hard Brexit. And there's reports that even with France, he's been encouraging a possible withdrawal from the EU as well. So I think that makes it then for the US to make trade deals with separate countries much more easy, and therefore they have more advantages.
So can Theresa May take advantage of that in her talks with him tomorrow at Chequers?
Extremely unlikely. He's likely to do the opposite, because it means the United States, which is a far bigger economy, has far more trade negotiators with far more experience, are going to drive a very hard bargain with Britain alone and not with the EU at its back. So I think they're going to try to open up the NHS, financial services and so on with the deregulated market, which is likely to come from a Brexit, a hard Brexit.
Okay, Professor Parmar, Professor Indrajit Parmar from the City University of London, thank you very much. Yes, it's certainly hard to second guess, isn't it, what the President Trump is going to do or say next, but that's the way he likes it. He likes to keep all of those around him guessing what his next moves will be. From Regent's Park, back to you.
Yes, as Jack Straw was telling us earlier in the programme, that's probably baked into the share price, isn't it, when you entertain Donald Trump. I was saying at the outset of the programme that it's taken 18 months to get him here to the UK. Of course, it's been on and off and on again. He was supposed to come here in January to open Nine Elms, the new US embassy, but he doesn't like the embassy because it's a lousy location. It was a bad deal to build it where they did. And of course, since then, since he was first invited, there's been the retweeting of that far-right video and the criticism of Theresa May and the way she's handling Islamic terrorism. So how is the special relationship? What sort of state is it in? With me is the author and academic Dr. James Boyes. He's an associate professor at Richmond University. He's an expert as well in US political history. Good to have you with me here.
Thanks,
on the roundabout, the Blenheim roundabout, isn't it? Let's talk about the special relationship. I suppose when you consider that Sir Winston Churchill was born here, that the special relationship was also born here.
Yeah, very much so. It's also important to note that Sulgrave Manor, the ancestral home of George Washington, is only about 25-30 miles up the road as well. So a very, very good location to be having Donald Trump here. People are often writing off the special relationship and have been doing so for many decades, going all the way back almost to the birthplace of the special relationship. It wasn't expected to prevail necessarily, but here we are now in the 21st century still talking about it. It's baked into effectively the national interests of both the US and the United Kingdom, both in terms of defence, exports, trade and politics. So it really is all encompassing.
This president has been very critical of President Obama. This venue has been carefully chosen because of Sir Winston Churchill. There was an awful row about the bust which was taken out of the Oval Office. What's the true story about that?
The truth of that is that there are two busts of Winston Churchill in the White House. One is a permanent exhibition within the White House itself. The second that all the furore was about was actually loaned to George W. Bush as president by the British government for the duration of his presidency. When W left, Barack Obama as a new president was totally entitled to redesign his own White House, his own Oval Oval Office and decided instead to have a bust of Martin Luther King in the White House, in his Oval Office. So the idea that it came in and out really was in absolutely no way a reflection upon Barack Obama's view of the United States or the United Kingdom relationship and the special relationship.
Okay. James, I know you're going to be with us all through the evening. I'm going to enjoy your company, hearing all about the stories. But for now, from here in Blenheim, as we wait for Donald Trump to arrive here, I'll hand you back to Rita.
Thanks very much, Christian. Let's get more now on that news that the government has published more detailed plans for how it proposes trading with the EU after Brexit. Our reality check correspondent Chris Morris is here with me now. Chris, quite a lot in these plans. They ran to many pages. Let's take a look at a few individual themes. What does the paper say about goods and how that's going to be dealt with?
Yeah, more than 100 pages in the white paper compared to just 3 after the Chequers meeting, so a lot more detail. On goods, basically, the government, I think, has taken account of the concerns of businesses that rely on just-in-time manufacturing processes when things have to arrive at factories every hour. It's also taken account of the need and the agreed need to avoid the reimposition of a hard border in Ireland. So what they're proposing is essentially a free trade area in goods. If you like, it's kind of staying in the single market in goods in all but name, but for obvious political reasons they don't want to call it that. But there will be, what they'll say, the UK will sign up to a common rule book with the EU. What that means in effect is the UK will take on the EU's rules without having any say in how they're made. Now, as we won't be part of the EU, the UK Parliament would have the right to refuse to take on